Every week on a Monday, I visit the Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton, or what is now known as the Boston Medical South. The hospital chaplain once in our conversation told me something striking. He said, "You can always tell when a great, experienced doctor has walked into the room of a patient. It's not just the white coat that he wears, it's the atmosphere. Patients, they sit up straighter. Nurses walk with more confidence. And even the families waiting outside, they begin to breathe easier. It's not that the illness disappears instantly, it is that the presence of authority that changes the air." That's what Luke is showing us in today's gospel. Jesus steps into the synagogue and speaks with authority, not the authority of degrees or titles, but the authority of truth. And when he speaks, even the forces of darkness know that they can't linger. And his words don't just inform, they transform. And we often confuse authority with oleum, the loudest voice at the dinner table, or the politician with the longest speech, the boss who slams the desk. None of that is real authority. We sometimes also mistake authority and knowledge with people who speak out very frequently at meetings. But the real authority is when words align with integrity, when there is no gap between what someone says and who they are. That's why the crowds in Capernaum were astonished, not because Jesus had the bigger microphone, but because his words matched his life. Think of Moses before Pharaoh. Moses wasn't eloquent. He even complained to God about his stammer. Yet when Moses spoke, rivers turned to blood, seas split open, and Pharaoh eventually bowed. Why? Because Moses' authority wasn't borrowed from his own skill. It was rooted in God's power. I once read about a mountain rescue team. These men and women would risk their lives to save stranded hikers on dangerous cliffs. What struck me was that when they arrived on scene, panicked climbers would often stop screaming and calm down almost instantly because the rescuers radiated competence. They weren't loud or flashy. They were steady, sure, and prepared. And their very presence gave assurance that help had arrived. That too is authority, born not of intimidation, but of lived experience and sacrifice. And here is the good news for us today. Jesus doesn't just keep that authority to himself. He shares it every time we speak truth with love, every time we forgive when the world expects retaliation, every time when we resist despair and choose hope instead. We echo his authority. We may not drive out demons in dramatic fashion, but we do drive out fear, cynicism, and bitterness that haunt the world. A priest friend once told me about his very first baptism. He was nervous, but determined to look confident in front of the family. He stood tall and spoke in deep voice and lifted the baby with all the solemnity he could muster. At that exact moment, the baby looked at him straight in the eye and promptly sneezed his baptismal candle out. Everyone laughed, but my friend said, in that moment he realized that authority and solemnity, that doesn't come from looking serious or sounding official. It comes from being rooted in something greater than yourself. That's the difference. Pretended authority can be sneezed away in an instant. And real authority, Christ's authority, changes the air in the room and calms every heart. So the question for us today is, when we walk into a room, what changes? Do we bring fear or do we bring peace? Do people leave shaking their heads or do they walk away saying, as they did in Capernaum, what is there about his word? May people who meet us walk away saying the same, not about our cleverness or smartness, but about the power of Christ speaking through us. Amen.